Now we have got some news coming in from India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that it is not possible to lift the nationwide lockdown on the 14th of April. The Prime Minister's comments came at the all-party meet that was held just a while ago. Now remember, a number of states have requested the centre to extend the lockdown beyond the 21 days. The Prime Minister said that he would consult all the chief ministers before taking the call, but in all likelihood the lockdown will be extended. Now, we are being joined by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, on the phone line for more on this story. Good afternoon to you, Siddhant. Prime Minister Modi saying that it is unlikely that the lockdown will be lifted on the 14th.
Sure, it looks like the lockdown will be extended, and we know we got the hints yesterday when we know that the sources told beyond that states and various experts have suggested the central government to extend the lockdown. We also know there are a number of districts in the state of Uttar Pradesh that have been put on which have been sealed from today, which will be sealed from today because of the crisis. We know the number of cases have risen here in India, over 5,000 from just single digits in the early days of March. But by and large, a strong message by the Indian Prime Minister when he had this video conference with various opposition members. And this is something which has been talked about because lockdown is something that the Indian government is banking on to make sure that the spread does not happen. We know that Indian government has been reiterating that people should stay at home, should stay safe so that the chain can be broken. And also they have been saying that lockdown is the biggest vaccine against the COVID crisis, in which almost 150 people have died here in India because of the COVID, just 35 in last 24 hours. So of course there are concerns regarding the COVID crisis, but by and large, if you look at the Indian government measures, the measure includes the lockdown as the big focus, and this is likely to be extended now because only through this that Indian government can make sure the spread doesn't happen. And if you look at the relative increase in the number of people infected here in India as compared to United States and European countries, the peak is not that fast, but of course that remains a cause of concern for the government here in India.
Now, what will the effects then be on the essential services, etc.? You know, will the same parameters apply? You say that there have been more stringent measures applied in some states, as an example, Noida.
Well, yes, essential services is something that the government of India is keeping on the mind. We know that when it comes to essential services, these things are continuing. When it comes to food, milk, groceries, these shops are open. In fact, the MHA had written to various state governments today saying that there should not be any hoarding at this time of crisis. And what the Indian Prime Minister also reiterated during his conversation with the various opposition leaders and also with the Chief Minister is that there needs to be a behavioral change in the people, only through a behavioral change of staying inside that the entire spread can be stopped, because the spread is increasing. Surely the numbers aren't increasing as fast as it has been increasing in other countries, but still the numbers are increasing, and the numbers have crossed 5,000 mark, shows that there is a big chance of increasing the COVID crisis, the entire COVID crisis across the country. But by and large, if you look at what the measures have been put in place, the Indian government was the first government to put in place measures, strong measures, even before World Health Organization had declared it as a global pandemic. On, I think, 8th of January, the Indian government constituted a group of ministers who have been taking all the major decisions regarding the COVID management here in India. And since then, India has shut down its international borders. India has stopped domestic airlines and has been putting in place all the measures possible to contain this crisis. We know that there is no vaccine, there is no medicine regarding COVID disease, and the only thing that is, of course, a savior is hydrochloroquine, which is considered as a game changer for the entire world. And the Indian government is getting requests from across the world. Almost 30 countries have now requested hydrochloroquine from India, including Malaysia. It was confirmed to Beyond today that Malaysia has also requested this drug from India. But by and large, the top priority of the Indian government is to make sure that there is no shortage here in India regarding essential services, regarding drugs, regarding medicines, and that is why strong measures have been put in place by the government.
Now, Siddhant, the Prime Minister has said that he will still need to consult all the chief ministers before taking the call. What do we know about that?
Well, consensus is something that is the basic part of democracy, and India, being a democracy, cannot take measures without consulting. And this is part of the decision-making process here in India. And that is why the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be consulting the chief ministers. In fact, he has spoken to chief ministers of various state governments twice in last 15 days, shows that how he is trying to form a consensus regarding the entire crisis. But by and large, because India is a democracy, it would like to follow democratic models such as Korea or Japan, where there have been increased but not substantial, and there are models the world is looking at. The Indian model is something the world is also looking at. So the Indian Prime Minister is keen to showcase an Indian democratic model of containing this crisis, a crisis which is of huge magnitude, killing so many people across the world, and now major concern here in India as well. We know the crisis first broke in China, and there are a lot of problems regarding it, in a sense that Chinese do not want it to be discussed at international forums. We know the United Nations Security Council is going to talk about this issue on Thursday at around 1700 GMT. That will be around the morning of Indian Standard Time here in India on Friday. So the outcomes of UNSC is something that everyone will be waiting and watching. We know that Chinese have not been very enthusiastic about conversations at world bodies because they believe that there might be politicization of the COVID discussion, because the Chinese are keen to showcase that it is not China which is at the center of the problem, but the world differs when it comes to China, because the first case was reported there, and in fact the Chinese management is something that has come into strong criticism. In fact, and the US President today said that the World Health Organization, they will be holding the American funding to the World Health Organization, and World Health Organization's role has also come under scanner. So there are multiple things which are happening at the same time, but it is in fact the biggest crisis the humanity has faced since World War II. We know that the Olympics have been postponed now. So number of things are happening and number of measures are being taken, but a global coordinated policy is something that the world is looking forward to, and in that India has taken a major lead with the Indian Prime Minister taking a major role when it comes to the G20
Absolutely.
conversations and the SAARC conversations.
Right. And Siddhant, now there are a couple of states which are slightly less affected than others here in India. Now, do you think that all of those states will have to implement the lockdown as well?
Well, approximately 250 districts of India have been infected by COVID. We cannot distinguish or differentiate between certain states which are not impacted and certain states or districts which are impacted. So it will be largely a very coordinated measure, a national coordinated policy when it comes to lockdown and the containment of the COVID crisis. So even if a district or a state is not affected by the COVID crisis, it is very unlikely that that state or district will be given any kind of reprieve. In fact, we have seen the measures only going stricter. The UP Chief Minister just a short while ago announced that there will be a number of districts in the state of Uttar Pradesh which will be sealed, including Noida, which is a major suburb where a lot of people go back and forth between Delhi and Noida. So it is going to impact the people, but by and large, the focus is to save as many people as possible, because that only through that the Indian government hopes that the entire crisis can be averted.
All right, thank you very much for that report, Siddhant. We'll have to leave it there. That is our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, bringing us the latest on the news alert that we've just received from Prime Minister Modi there, possibly that the nationwide lockdown will be extended.